And welcome to the Friday Night Chat, episode 80, on the road to 88. I am your host, Redneck National Capitalist. We're an open panel show. Link is in the description. We do this every Friday. We're a little bit early this time. We usually start about 7 o'clock. Um, all right, we'll jump into the panel here. Dionysus, any opening thoughts?
You said BRB.
Okay. Ephraim,
Yo, hello.
very good. Iron Man,
Hey, how you doing?
don't ask me
Actually,
how I'm
I
doing
won't
on
do
an
that.
open
I won't do
show.
that intro I was talking about yet.
All right, Miss Anti-Feminist. Opening thoughts?
She said BRB too.
Everybody said they. Fuck you guys. Sharpman, any opening thoughts?
For 88, I will change my avatar to a swastika and cap flag.
Oh God, that is triggering. Capitalism and
That's
fascism.
my fetish.
Oh God. All right. So we can get in. Let's get it popping. All right. So we can talk about.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just had to dig up some info. Okay, so I was going to do the Ann Coulter plane seat thing. So for people who aren't aware, Ann Coulter had to move from a seat that she'd pre-booked, like that she knew had more leg room on that particular model aircraft, and some fucking snippy little fucking stewardess came and fucking kicked her out of the seat and fucking put her in another seat, and then put some other fucking woman in the seat. Didn't give her an explanation. This is on Delta Airlines. She's been sort of talking about that on her Twitter pretty excessively. Like, that's pretty fucked up. You know, they didn't give her an explanation. No shit like that. The woman wasn't fucking in a wheelchair or fucking disabled or any shit like that visibly anyway. So she's like, what the fuck, Delta, right? And so, you know, Delta fucking on Twitter, they send back this message that says, oh, we'll refund you $30 that you paid for the, you know, like for that particular seat. And this is like this fucking red herring, right? Like, oh, it's about the $30. Like, Ann Coulter actually gives a fuck about $30, right? So, like, for anyone who's repeating that shit, doesn't, you know, thinks this is like some first world problem for Ann Coulter. I just want to give you an example, right? And fucking you buy your shit, you go sit at the table, and then fucking like some McDonald's worker comes over, snatches your burger off the fucking table, your cheeseburger, and fucking some fucking random person. Then they bring you a fucking another burger and it doesn't have cheese in it, right? They don't fucking tell you why they fucking did that. They say, oh, just got to do this, right? So you're waiting for an explanation and you're asking for an explanation and you demand a fucking explanation. Like, what the fuck, right? And then like you go, fuck this. You walk out and you go, you eat the meal that you didn't fucking want in the first place. So this is not a very good dining experience, let's say. And then you go onto Twitter and say, hey, you know, this happened at McDonald's. McDonald's are being dicks, right? And they come back on Twitter and say, you know, on their official McDonald's Twitter thing and say, we're sorry you did not receive the preferred burger you paid for, and we'll refund your 30 cents for the slice of cheese. That's the fucking basically the response you got, right?
Yeah.
These
And you said it was a stewardess that fucked up?
Yeah, not a flight attendant. No, it's a stewardess. Right. So there was a suspicion that what happened was someone saw her and they're some anti-conservative or whatever and just want to fuck up a day or something, right? Currently fucking up their day, like on Twitter and talking about their dropping stock price and shit. And you know, as Ann Coulter said, like if the person was visibly disabled or some shit like that, I mean, if you were a McDonald's and fucking someone's going into a diabetic coma and they grab the sugar off your fucking table, you know, you're gonna fucking be okay with that. And she would have been okay with that, but they didn't give her fucking any explanation, fucking nothing, right? So if you're going around repeating this $30 shit, or you're just thinking she's being, you know, oh well, she was put into a seat that still had leg room, but slightly less leg room and all this kind of shit, you know, it's a first world thing. It's not. It's just like they're acting like little fucking brown shirts, and they're making up. You know, this is the left is trying to use this. Conservatives are fucking entitled or something. You know, like these rich people just walk around and say, "I want a fucking bigger seat" or whatever. But it's actually the other way around. Like we just want a fair fucking deal. We just want on a level playing field, and fucking not get fucked over by the whim of some little fucking brown shirt like that, right? You know,
Stewardesses. They take so much power, right? They don't like something, they don't like you, they'll fuck you over. Like there's plenty of situations where they just take, because they have the ability to have a plane landed. You know, there's been situations.
Well, they know you're in a situation you can't. You know, you've got plans and everything like that, and they use that against you, right?
Yeah, you get a little bit upset when they do something, and you know become visibly upset. You're a threat to the plane. You know, we're gonna land, and we're gonna have the police escort you off the plane and shit.
Yeah, and I mean the Stanford experiment came up.
That's weird. Like every time I say I want to gas the kikes on the plane, I always get arrested.
Same.
Yeah, so someone brought up the Stanford experiment, which I thought was really cool because this is because I was thinking the same thing, right? Like like I've been talking about this on previous shows, like where stewardesses act like little fucking Nazis, right?
Explain the Stanford experiment for people that don't know.
Now, what does Delta or fucking like any of these companies do to counteract the power imbalance that you've got? Like, you know, they're always talking about punching down and privileges and power imbalances and all this shit, all the lefties, right? And if the Stanford experiment's a real fucking phenomenon, this companies and that should actively be putting in place policies that counteract the fact that people would act like this, right? Where they would, like, people in power would act like little fucking Nazis, right? That's what the Stanford experiment supposedly proved, right? So, you know, you've got this situation. It's just a fucking free-for-all. Oh, I don't like you. You said something I don't like. Spit in your food, basically. I'm just going to fucking do something that makes me feel better and fuck over a customer.
Yeah. And it's important to even call them fucking stewardess because they're flight attendants. They even get a better name, you know.
Yeah, flight attendant.
Those cunts, they take any power they get and just run with it.
And what about universities where you've got the professors and instructors, right? And they've got this power over students because, like, people talk about it all the time. If you're a conservative, keep your fucking head down. Just pretend to go along with their lefty shit, right? They want to talk about fucking power imbalances and privilege and shit. That's a fucking Stanford experiment situation too, right?
But when it's the opponents, right? When it's literally their ideology would say that these people are Satan, right? These people are, evil. They're conservatives. They're Nazis, right? Ann Coulter is a Nazi, and so it's okay to fuck them over because they don't agree with this diversity. And I've interacted with this same kind of thing. It's like, put on this board that they'll have a big board that says like how diverse the school is, and they'll say like, put on this board your opinion. Now,
that we give you.
Well, what do you think somebody that goes, I don't like diversity, I don't think the school should be diverse, like if they put that on the board,
well, it's painful. It's like sitting on a plane for 2 hours with no fucking leg room, right? It's not about the fucking $30, right? It's not about fucking, like you're paying a fucking price, right? Like a larger fucking price.
Yeah.
You got to sit in fucking university for fucking like 4 years or something. Like, listen to this crap.
And you can't criticize it. There's repercussions. So there's no repercussion for them pushing it, but there's repercussions for you even speaking.
Yeah, they derail your career, fucking whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And, people say, oh, you're a snowflake because you don't want them to do that. And I goes, well, no, like there's an opportunity cost that we can't have a discussion, right? Like at university, you're putting up these billboards about diversity and asking for people to put opinions, but you're going to punish opinions you don't want. I'm a fan of like a free speech board. Like that would be cool. Like, tell us what you think about it. But if I wrote, I don't like the diversity here, and if I wrote, I don't think there's diversity of thought here, they would freak out. Because you would think that if you have, diversity of thought, that you would have people there that said, oh, I don't like diversity. But you don't.
Being against
Yeah.
diversity is including people who are against diversity is part of diversity.
Yeah.
And if you're against people who are against
Uh,
diversity, then you're not actually being diverse. You're just trying to pretend that you're diverse.
A sophomore from the University of Maryland, he wrote an op-ed for the Diamondback, arguing that intolerant points of view prevent certain groups of people from participating in campus life safely.
Safe.
That colleges should screen speakers to ensure that they are not giving a platform to quote-unquote intolerant perspectives. The name of the student is Moshe Klein.
Moshi. Oh yeah, it's absurd. And anyone that goes to a college campus can see this sort of thing play out. You're in every class you're taught about this, and what's crazy is they'll even say stuff like diversity of thought is what matters now and stuff, but it's obviously about race, and they don't allow this diversity of thought, because if they allowed the diversity of thought argument, they would arrive at what principle that the rest of Western civilization had already figured out: freedom of speech, freedom of expression.
They don't understand that by preaching. Sorry to interrupt you. They don't understand that by preaching the censorship. He wants the teachers and also the spoke people to be the people who are invited to speaking on campuses. They want all these people to be screened. They also want the teachers to be screened. So the students are dictating from some empowered SJW point of view who is allowed to teach them and who is allowed to speak to them.
Well, that's what they want. They want to be part of this communistic mass, right? They want to give the teachers all the power, right? And they want to use that. In turn, they have the power, right? So they have this idea. So they want all the professors to get together and decide if this person agrees enough with the ideology of the campus, agrees with the politics that the campus want to impose. And
Did you see the story that came out just this week? Like Ben Shapiro was going to speak at Berkeley in August, September, somewhere around there,
yes.
And they can't find a venue for him. This is like a fucking nigger coming to your restaurant, and you're going, no, we don't have any tables, and then a white guy shows up, and you go, you come right in, sir, right? Oh, he's got a book, or fucking some shit like that, right? Like it's what they're doing. Like, if you were doing that in a restaurant, it'd be pretty fucking obvious what you were doing, right? And it's fucking hilarious because he's saying himself, he's like, are you guys fucking crazy? Like, don't you know in a week's time I'm gonna be like, speaking to Congress about this exact fucking issue, right? He's gonna go there and talk about fucking universities like stopping people speaking and shit like that. He's saying, well, that's just more shit I can talk about, right?
So
And
yeah, so
Berkeley was like a homo free speech movement.
He's gonna go give a speech about how campuses are not allowing him to speak, and they ban him.
Yeah.
That's the most retarded thing I've ever heard.
Oh, it's not just him being unable to speak. I mean, he's just representing people to say, like, there's a problem in the fucking universities, right? That's his original, topic, just a general fucking issue, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, like, the fact that he would, the fact that they wouldn't think that was a dumb idea to ban him when he's going there to talk about how they're going to ban him.
Mm.
It's like, I don't know. Ben Shapiro shouldn't be upset about that. He should be happy. He should be agreeing with liberals for the wrong reason.
Maybe they just don't like Jews. You know, maybe they're anti-Semitic.
Ben Shapiro is not diverse enough because his kids are Jewish.
What venue was that? That Bandom? Or
What was the college tournament?
It was Berkeley,
Berkeley, I think.
wow.
the home of the free speech movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, fucking Ben Shapiro, he's fucking, like, for someone so short, he's doing a lot of fucking slam dunks. Some spectacular fucking slam dunks. Like, this week, he's perpetrating a Holocaust against, you know, the upcoming SJW children, I think.
What?
Some feminist named Jodi Allard. Like, she's like, you might have heard of this. Like, previously she'd said, you know, all men are rapists, you know, potential rapists, and fucking, like, even I can't fucking even my sons would be included in that. So she's writing these columns in this fucking lefty rag about how her sons are going to grow up to be fucking evil rapists, basically.
She said that
Potential rapists.
she can feel safe even around her own sons.
Are
Yeah.
you
She's
serious?
completely retarded.
She thinks that.
Yeah.
God, I can't imagine. Like, she's holding her son and being like, "You're gonna," you know, maybe it's gonna be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like her mom's just gonna be like, "All men rape."
Well,
you know.
actually, not so much, because what Shapiro did, like on his show, his podcast, he said, actually, I'll just read this bit. Okay, if he's on his podcast and he's talking about this shit, right? Like her article, the most recent article, and he says, okay, if the son of Jodi Allard is watching this right now, please write me an email. I'd be happy to have you intern with us over at the Daily Wire, because he'd heard these kids were actually conservative, like that turning conservative as probably as a knee-jerk reaction to their mother, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, I think you deserve better than what your mother has provided to you to label you a potential rapist. And fucking, so one of this 19-year-old kid, fucking, like, you know, now they're old enough to fucking read this shit and make their own decisions, fucking sends his fucking resume into Shapiro. and so, you know, this, so she sends a tweet that says, my son says there's been zero actual contact, you know, with Shapiro. You know, she's sort of like playing this down. And Shapiro tweets back, apparently your son doesn't tell you everything about his life because his resume is sitting right in front of me. So, the Jew stole my kids. Wow, you know, fucking awesome. So, you know, they talk about Generation Z, like upcoming generation, being, you know, behind the millennials, being conservative as a sort of counter-reaction to all this fucking SJW bullshit. They're just sick of it. They've had it trying to shove down their throats and all that. Just like me with the hippies, like fucking trying to shove shit down their throats, right? It's just like, and they're like, fuck off. I don't care, right? And they're like, some of them are conservative, or they're at least anti-pinko crap, like commie crap, right?
Well, it makes sense from, I mean, what are they seeing around them, right? Are they seeing the people who follow this stuff to the T be miserable credence, screaming about things, wanting to shut people up, having hypocritical principles that don't make any sense and they can't follow because it would contradict it. They see the misery in these older people. They see the misery in the millennials, and
some of it's just counterculture, you know, like Paul Joseph Watson says, you know, conservatism is the new counterculture, that kind of stuff. It's just like, you know, if you want to go against the mainstream, like because you're a kid and you're rebellious, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Really funny though. Yeah, sorry, I'll shut up now. I've been fucking talking too much, but you know, just that proves it. Around Jews never relax.
Well, yeah, I would say that to really be countercultural, to really be rebellious now, is to rebel against this culture, this egalitarian worldview that is pushed everywhere. That is what is edgy. That is what is cool. I think that maybe I'm more sympathetic to the accelerationist point of view on culture, in that I think it can't get much more absurd and get much more worse than it is now.
It's like they're saying, like, punk's not dead, it's alt-right, or it's right.
Well, that, and I'm just saying that people, for every person that's a purple-headed weirdo that is screaming at everybody and being miserable and saying that everyone's a rapist and stuff, there's probably 3 people that see that person and go, I don't know about this, right? Whereas you don't really have that with our movement, right? You don't really have that many examples, and a lot of it's probably because
To be fair, there's a lot of guys and few females, right?
yeah, but
That's
yeah,
just the nature of the beast. I mean, that's just how it happens.
It's very classy to raise your skirt and you're not wearing panties and you yell vagina. This is what they are advocating for. And I even tweeted about it. I think they missed the memo where the sexual revolution happened in the 60s and the 70s with the hippies last century. They are a little bit slow on the take, and they have become vulgar.
Is this so?
They
This
think
is a
that this
new.
is they think that this is empowering women to raise your skirt and yell vagina.
Well, that's
They're
the
raising
problem.
their skirts.
That's the problem when you
What
have,
that-
when like every generation becomes like less traditional than the generation before. It's like you're always going to have the younger generation that's going to be trying to challenge itself with the tradition above it. But if the generation above it was so decadent, like then yeah, you're going to get to the point where you're getting to the very, very base level.
Yeah, well, they're arguing, but is this a new? This is a new movement where they're yelling vagina in public.
Are they raising their skirts? Is that a thing?
Yes, it's a feminist thing.
Yeah, I got the solution. Just whip your dick out and yell out, "Where? I must rape."
Well,
Yeah, but if men start taking their dicks out and yelling penis or something like that because they are using the term vagina, they will get arrested.
Whoa! What are you talking about? My penis is actually a vagina. How can you say that?
I always want to illustrate my point by dressing up like a fucking Persian and wearing a gold chain and just agreeing with them for all the wrong reasons. Like, so you tell them, yeah, vagina, show me your pussy. I love this. This is great. Get naked so I can see it. Yeah, this is great. You're really empowering women. Yeah, like just screw any men. So like have sex with me, 0 issues, no investment, and bam, this feminist stuff's great, right? They're the most vulgar, disgusting human beings you can imagine, short of your average NEET, I guess.
Yeah, there is a I don't have the link here now. There is a debate. Actually, it's not a debate. It's a conversation between Dr. Somers and Camille Paglia, where Camille points out that when she went to college, they were fighting in order not to have a curfew in the dorms. And the current feminists are all about the rape culture. Let's protect the special snowflakes women. And they both have a spectacular conversation on this issue.
It's almost
So
it's almost like
yeah.
short of having a relationship with a man that they want some sort of protection, right? They feel that there needs to be some sort of like net or like rules or like guidance to make sure that they remain safe. It's almost like they don't believe that women should be totally independent and allowed to make all of their own decisions.
They are delegating the father figure, the infamous patriarchy that doesn't exist, to the college campuses, kangaroo courts, and to the state. They are transferring this father figure to the state.
Yeah, it's something that happens. It's something psychological with women that they want to do this, and it's something that is behind all sort of collectivist left-wing thought. This sort of father figure becomes the state, but not the men around it.
Yes, this is a communist mindset.
Yeah, certainly. But it's even more apparent because at least in communism, the state kind of takes a motherly role too. Whereas this, they just want the administrator, the colleges, to basically act as if their own little tiny micronation.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean in communism the state also takes a motherly role? What does that mean?
Under communism, the state provides you with everything, right? The state treats you as children in their
Children, the father
philosophy.
figure. Yes, it's a metaphor of the communism that the state is the father. It happened in the USSR.
Okay, maybe I was incorrect. I thought in their propaganda and in the culture they would talk about the state as their mother.
Actually, there is a difference. Russia calls calls itself motherland,
Yes.
but the state is viewed as a father. So
Okay.
much so that Stalin was called uncle.
Okay.
He was everybody's uncle.
All right. It was my understanding that there was some significance between that terminology, because
No. For
'Cause-
Russians, the country Russia is the motherland, yes. But under communism, the state was the father figure.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the point, to get back to it, yeah, that they're delegating this power that would have in the past been a lover of theirs or something like that, or whatnot, and they want the administration and college to do it. And they want the college to basically act as with its own courts, its own issues, its own basically legal system, so that they can implement this sort of totalitarian system, which is kind of absurd, right? Like, if there's no rape or whatnot should be investigated by the college. It should be reported to the police and have an actual legal system.
Yeah.
I understand, like, you kind of have this process. So, like, if somebody's breaking campus rules, you're going to kick them out or whatever somehow. But, yeah, I mean, they take straight up legal matters as serious as rape and try to report, so they can rope you into this kangaroo court system to justify.
Yeah, this is like when the churches do that. Like, they try to internally take care of shit that's like it should be handled by outside law enforcement, right? Like the Jehovah's Witnesses tried to do this with their sexual abuse of kids and stuff like that. So the Catholic fucking Church, and they got no business doing that. Like, that's not the fucking way it works. It's like and Sharia law fucking courts, although you could technically have someone handle a dispute like a Judge Judy kind of fucking court sort of thing, serious matters don't fucking belong in that sort of situation, because they're not even the way those little kangaroo courts work. They're not even close to fucking.
They presume the
really
accused part guilty.
Yeah, it's the opposite of our legal system. What's noticeable? Well, what's funny is a few states in the South have actually banned Sharia law officially at the state level. It's illegal to practice Sharia, like run a Sharia court, I should say. And liberals are, of course, their argument against this is, don't you know that they can't do that? We have a constitution. It's like, well, no, somebody could set up a private Sharia court and settle disputes out of court. That's now illegal.
When do they care about the Constitution?
Yeah, they don't care about the Constitution at all, and they don't care about decentralization or localization and stuff unless it's Muslims, right? Then they can genitally mutilate their women and
Or
marry
like
off
immigrants or any
7-year-olds.
other group they like. that votes for them.
Whoa! Come on! I thought the Democratic Party was like all about the Constitution.
Yeah, I know, right? What the heck?
They are as soon as it's protecting them, right? As soon as it's which I'm all fine with, right? Like sometimes I'm prone to agree with liberals for the wrong reason, because I know their policy's stupid, but.
Well, it's one of these situations where you go, look, see, arbitration, like third-party arbitration, like you should be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
But like they don't want to fucking allow it when it's like something fucking that's not. So okay, no one can fucking have it. Like that's why as soon as you're going to let fucking people have third and fucking like not have Sharia courts running fucking rampant over fucking people's rights, like their greater fucking rights, then we'll fucking let him have Sharia courts, right? See, like, I mean, because like how many women fucking leave Islam It's like if there was a religion operating that way, you wouldn't let them have their own fucking courts and sanction it.
Yeah. Well, that's my point, right? They go, well, it's real law, can't be. But yeah, banning it, right? Banning the specific practice is good, right? Because it's not saying that you can't have third-party arbitration. It's just saying this particular style of arbitration is illegal here because we find it to be at odds with what we want, with our.
It'd be like if you had David Koresh and fucking like, oh, he can run eternally. It's like, yeah, okay, but if it's like about him raping kids and he's a judge and jury or something, no, we're not going to fucking.
Yeah, no other.
It goes against how historically the judiciary system was established in the United States, or basically in most civilized countries. Because at a certain point, the sheriff couldn't be the judge and executioner.
Yeah.
It was delegated to a third party.
What's noticeable, but to go back to the college campus example, yeah,
they are skipping the due process.
Yeah, well, if they're going to say that 1 in 4 people are raped on campus and all this kind of things, well, then you should be calling in the big guns, right? You shouldn't. You should have the real police there, right? There should constantly be real police there. There should be the fucking National Guard there, but they wouldn't agree to that.
They should be busting people's video.
I don't remember who said. I can't quote the right person, but it was compared to the amount of number of rapes that happens in Congo, in Africa. If the 1 in 4 or 1 in 5, whatever the percentage of women are raped in college campuses, then it's the equivalent of what's going on in Congo.
Yeah, I don't believe I don't believe their numbers. I don't. I'm very skeptical of their stats because they never can seem to cite somewhere that's decent. But if it's the case, right? If that really was the case, then you need fucking assault rifles. Like, you need to do something different. And if that was the case, then we need to look at how people are, running these campuses. How are they policing these campuses with their campuses? How is with their police there? How is the culture on the campus gotten to such a point where everyone's being raped? And the fault would lie with them and their culture and their, obviously all that they're doing is failing miserably. I mean, if I ran a campus and I thought that 1 out of every 4 women were going to be raped on it, I would consider that a failure. I'd probably shut it down.
That would literally mean like thousands of people are being raped on campus every year.
Yeah.
Like larger campuses. If you think about it.
Well, speaking of rape, I don't know if you guys heard about there's a recent case where a woman tricked another woman into thinking that a man was going to come in the room, I guess, and she put a strap on and started fucking her. She just got sentenced to 6.5 years in prison for that.
Seems a little short.
The old switcheroo.
It seems a little short.
And I wonder why traditional people, Christians, etc., would have a sort of policy fucking people and that kind of thing. I mean, it just that sort of shit wouldn't happen if you sort of obeyed those guidelines. Oh, I'm just going to get drunk and fuck whoever comes in the room. Hell happened there.
Nothing bad will ever happen with this. This will never put me in more risks of disease, crime being committed upon me, any of that. Never settling down with, this is going to lead me to a positive life. And it kind of goes back to, like I said, there's a lot of young women that are growing up seeing these people around them. And first of all the stuff they're telling them is wrong. They see that they're miserable and they want to rebel against it. So I do think we're poised to make some victories here, at least culturally, as long as we're able to keep immigration down. That is the main threat.
Like the policy people should be fighting. Like free to listen, open their mouth, get on their knees, and fucking be safe. You know, that's what the fucking leftists want, right? Like, this is what they think fucking is reality. Like, if anything goes bad, anything goes wrong, or some shit like that, right? We got, you know, it's not like that you're doing something fucking ridiculously stupid. Because does anyone hear that story and go, how the fuck did you not know it's a woman, right? Like, breasts, fucking, you know, you didn't fucking know. What are you, fucking tied up and facing the wall? What the fuck? What's going on?
Well, I think she was blindfolded, and she said, "All right, so this guy's coming in the room. He's gonna smash you."
Some guy.
And then it
You
ended
haven't
up
seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're the ones that we're the ones that hate people, right? Like telling people like if you do behavior that's going to increase the chance that you're going to get diseases or like become a victim of a crime. Yeah, that's because we hate you and we're out to hurt you, right?
No, it's because you are a terrible
Fucking white male.
fucking white male, yes, and you're virtue signaling that people should restrain from having sex and drinking. How dare you?
And dismissing the female experience, the lived experience of women.
Well, I mean, speaking of dismissing experiences, have you guys seen the new article this week in Neat News? Neat News. Sex robots, innovation driven by male masturbatory fantasy is not a revolution. It's not a sexual revolution. Screams the
and the autistic person, the feminist, she used the word objectification. I knew it.
Yes. Also, my prediction from last time that somebody was going to make a sex robot that was like a rape bot and that they were going to lose their shit also came true. One of the new pre-programmed dolls are designed. Yeah, they can be put in what they call a frigid mode. And the point there is that the robot will act basically like a Japanese woman. It's going to be like, no, I don't want it, but I do. You know, kind of a timid thing. And they're saying that this is a rape doll. Absolutely. Here's a quote from her. These dolls mimic everything that a woman has, down to her labia, but they don't mimic the critical thing. They're lacking the critical. Yeah, they're lacking what is critically important: consent. Basically, they
So
are
you can destroy bullshit. Just program a doll that
to do what?
to act like you have to have affirmative consent every step of the way.
Yeah, I mean, they're fundamentally
Right? Just, you know, then no one would want the fucking dolls if they were set on that mode, right?
It's just autistic screeching. Like, you're objectifying us. You're going and it's bad, and people are gonna have sex with a robot, and then they're gonna want to rape women, and it mimics us in every way except for it's not an obnoxious, annoying feminist with bad hair, and you know that's working for the foundation of responsible robotics, because it actually is one woman. It is this foundation that is spearheading the backlash against it. These are the people arguing against it. There's already groups that are arguing that AI should be given human rights, and
Yeah.
here,
I'm sure.
do what?
The argument for the artificial intelligence be given already human rights in it is part of an attempt to a preemptive strike towards transhumanism.
Yeah, here's she writes in this.
Maybe all the robots will vote and they'll get rights.
Yeah, I can read.
'Cause-
I'm gonna read a little bit more. She writes in this annoying fucking sarcastic style, but so apparently we are in the midst of another sexual revolution. the new ideal woman will be a robot, lifelike dolls that feel real and communicate their needs. I'm not sure whether this revolution is the right word for it, though. The let's see. Sex robots could provide help for people who find it hard to have intimate relationships. These people would be people with dementia and disabilities. This might be a noble idea were we to accept that everyone must be enabled to have sex as a human right. That it is somehow therapeutic. But the reality is more basic. These people are in the business of manufacturing sex robots for people in quotation who are actually making simulations of women to be bought by men. These critters can speak and be programmed from a tablet. Their orifices are made to feel as lifelike as possible. Some can be put into a frigid mode, which amounts to essentially a rape mode.
Yes.
So,
Well, I mean, I don't know how well they are comparably in bed to a woman. You know, I don't know if they're warm or whatnot. But one thing's for sure, it won't take half your fucking house one day.
well, see, this is
And it'll be
sort of-
warmer than a feminist.
yeah, this is sort of I get the sense that they kind of don't like it because it takes away from the value of a woman that has nothing to offer besides sex. And this is kind of funny coming from feminists because they essentially have wanted to turn women into some people that have nothing to offer besides sex.
Not even that. Hairy armpits and fucking fat whale ass and all that shit. I mean, they don't even want that.
So I want to take a bet that, and I'm gonna be able to find an article talking about how evil these robots are because none of them are massively overweight women of color.
Of course, not enough intersectionality.
Yes,
They should make a black transgender doll, and even so, they wouldn't be happy because objectification and consent.
yeah, but it's
They would still.
it's terrible that these evil sexist men don't want to have sex with transgender, overweight black women of color sex dolls that, you know, you have to ask for consent every 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I got to put it. Does anyone know who Jack Thompson is?
Yes.
Yeah, lawyer who said, there's too much violence in video games. And they end up using his image in, Tekken 3 and shit like that, so you can beat up Jack Thompson. So this bitch that's complaining about sex robots, what do you think's going to happen to her?
You wouldn't want to. You wouldn't.
Anyway, you can just add this cunt to the list of people who equate fantasy with reality. If you do something in fantasy land, you're going to be doing it in reality. So, this is going to make you want to go out and rape real women, right? Like Jack Thompson, you fucking beat people up in a video game. That means you're going to go and do it on the street.
Let's.
That's Sarkeesian and this cunt on the same list.
That's the woman right there. That I'm screen sharing.
Zach would do that.
She, nappy, messed up hair, general, look of unhappiness, unkept.
2 out of 10 wouldn't bang. Is that what you're trying to say?
Exactly what I would think that she would look like, spending all of her times, writing about how evil these robots are, and yeah, I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what happens with
What's
it.
that other tab you got open in the B Chiku? What is that? Is that like a tentacle?
No. No.
Is it busted like fucking Eichenwald?
No.
Here's the link to the woman. This woman that is attacking the sex robots, Donna Haraway. She's a distinguished American professor emerita in the History of Consciousness Department and Feminist Studies Department at the University of California, Santa Cruz.
So this is like the ADL, we're kind of making a list of feminists that are against the sex robots. We can kind of go into the ADL's new list.
Oh yeah.
If you guys want to talk about that. So the ADL has compiled a new list of terrible bigots, terrible alt-righters,
And the alt-light.
and the alt-light. At the bottom of... Okay, let me get it straight here. So here's an example. Friend of the show, Augustus Invictus, somebody that is not an anti-Semite, is not a racist, in as far as anyone can tell, and I've interacted with the feller. He's not. He's been on our show. He's not. He's not. So
Is a degenerate though.
The write up that he on him, for example, just to show you how unfair and ridiculous it is. Augustus Invictus is a far right attorney. He's a speaker. He's a right wing speaker from Orlando, Florida. He's a member of the Fraternal Order of the Alt Knights, a military wing. Ooh, hold on. Max joined us. Military wing of the Proud Boys. He's also a sergeant at arms for the Florida American Guard. He is a white supremacist. He's in a white supremacist group led by Brian James, one of the founders of the Vinlanders Social Club, a hardcore, frequently violent, racist skinhead gang.
Oh my god!
He stands with the alt-right on the issue of freedom of speech. He believes infighting on the right takes away energy from fighting the real enemy, which includes the federal government, the lobbyists, and people like George Soros and Hillary Clinton. So this is, I mean, even
Oh
if
god, not free speech. Anything but free speech.
yeah, oh no, freedom of speech. If you, so even if you're just a, you know, a nationalist, a national libertarian that doesn't dive into the race issue, if you don't, if you know, you're still a terrible bigot, you're still a racist,
Even
you're
if
still
you're
a white supremacist.
Fucking Milo. Like Milo's on their list in that article, right? He's like the last one. So
No,
even
he's
if
under alt-light though. He's not alt-right.
yeah,
So-
but they don't make much differentiation in that article if you read it fully. Like they say,
Yeah.
there's a lot of crossover there. I mean, they're putting him in the same pool. So it's just kind of silly. It's like, oh yeah, even if you're a gay Jew libertarian who fucks black guys, you're still a Nazi.
Yeah, and I think I think Invictus is very right in his assessment of not wanting too much infighting among the alt right, because I think he's fundamentally correct, and even with us and other people that are, you know, anti-Semitic or Nazis, he's not sitting there trying to destroy them or run them off or put them. He just simply disagrees with them, but he thinks that we have the same enemies, basically. But yeah, this ADL list is
And I just want to point out that's been a consistent position coming out of him for at least well over a year since he was on this show just over a year ago, where he said the same fucking thing. He's not changed his position one bit.
oh yeah, certainly. He's sort of a nativist. He doesn't want to hurt the people living here in the country. He doesn't, you know. But I think anyone who has a rational mind that's not fucking brought down by this tribal altruism of we have to help everyone no matter what would come to the assessment that mass immigration is bad and that, you know, international financiers are the enemy, and, you know, people like George Soros and Hillary Clinton are, you know, enemies of the people here.
Right, it's all kind of common sense shit, unless you're benefiting from that program, which is why, you know, minorities, gays, et cetera, you know, all unquestioningly support them, because they get at least some tangential benefit from the forced diversity and all of this. But like anybody else, if you're not in one of those like other groups or whatever, and you're seeing what's going on, it's not hard to come to the conclusion, well, those people aren't helping me, even if I don't think that it's related to them being Jewish or them being this or them being that. They're certainly fucking me over, regardless of what they are and who they are.
Yeah, and that's sort of that sort of backlash and even identitarianism among whites is something that I don't think they accounted for.
Yeah, they certainly didn't. And the only thing that they know, I mean, I see this all the time. I don't know if you guys saw. I shared it in a different group that's kind of like more like not race realist or whatever. This questionnaire this week that was like, "Are you an anti-Semite?" Now this questionnaire, I'll put it in the Irregulars group tonight. Now that I've mentioned it, so you guys can check it out for yourself. But it was clearly written by like a Jewish person, and not just any Jewish person, but like the most like paranoid, over the top, like everybody's out to get me Jewish person I think I've ever seen or heard of. And no matter what you answer, you're going to get some percentage of that you're an anti-Semite. I got 88%. But some of these I shared it in
better than 100% because that's a dog whistle against them.
I guess it's funny too because like nobody else seems to be getting that exact number. Like people are getting 89. But the funniest part is I shared it in this libertarian group because a lot of them like will actively signal against anti-Semitism and all that, and some of them are even Jewish. And what we found out is no matter what you answer to that test, you're still basically Hitler. You can answer I don't know to all the questions. You're still 3% anti-Semitic.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Wait, Max, you're still allowed in libertarian groups?
Well, alt libertarian groups, I should say.
All right, got it.
Yeah, I think I get banned pretty quickly from those groups as well if I actually post anything. I've actually had, I've had people call me freaking out like, dude, what you posted, people higher ups are asking me if we're Nazis and shit, man. It's like, whoa.
I think I remember the specific one you're talking about
Yeah,
there.
it was parentheses because I had the coincidence detector at the time, and I was writing. I wrote an article, to send in the group, which was basically saying, hey, there's a bunch of communists in our group. These communists, they're reporting people. We probably should just not let open communist in our libertarian Facebook group. It's just kind of a bad idea. First response to the article was that I was a dog whistling anti-Semite and that I was evil and whatnot. And it was actually another article that I had posted that had the parentheses on it. The article that I, on my blog, there was another one that had parentheses, I guess. The funny thing about that fella, though, was that when I clicked on his Facebook profile, his political orientation was down as communist. He was specifically a Marx-Leninist communist, and I pointed that out. And I put
wasn't he Jewish as well?
Yeah, maybe. And I put hammers and sickles around his name, and I wrote, "I'm just a libertarian here to talk about open borders and free markets," in 3 hammers and sickles on each side.
Oh my God, I remember the hammer and sickle echo meme, and we should totally bring that back because that was fun.
Yeah, everybody laughed and whatnot. He, called me an anti-Semite. I posted pictures of me hanging out with Adam Kokesh, and said, "Yeah, look at how much of a bigot I am."
Were you fapping in a parking lot?
We were in a parking lot, and I really, when I found out that he faps in parking lots, I really think that I should have washed my hands. I wouldn't have shook his hand had I known, that he was fapping in the parking lot.
That's horrible.
Alex, I thought you would have joined him.
Did you see Kokesh was kvetching on Twitter and Facebook about somebody took a screenshot from the game with Nat in it there, and of him putting the Jew in the oven, and they superimpose Adam Kokesh with a big hook nose over it.
Yeah,
and
my nose isn't that big.
And he's like, this is an example of the kind of hate and anti-Semitism I get every day. And I'm like, Adam, if you happen to listen to this, I want to tell you something. I want to let you in on a little secret. The reason people send you shit like that is because you freak out about it the way you did, and it's funny. So,
I just hope for the fucking Fourth Reich. So the Nazis will fucking come in and try to take away all the Jews, and Adam will solve the problem by fucking hugging them when they come to put him on the fucking trains.
No, he'll use he'll use nonviolent communication to make them assess their emotions and the underlying reason why they really want to gas all the kikes.
Yeah, that's right.
Why do you really want to gas me? How was your childhood? You know, I'm trying to understand your emotions. You know, why are you upset?
You say you want to gas me, but do you really just want to gas your parents?
I'll tell you, it works every time.
Yeah, there's a video where this guy wants to kick his ass, and he basically uses jiu-jitsu, like JEW, and then he like posted it about like this nonviolent communication stuff makes sense. It's like, yeah, wow, somebody who has a high verbal IQ and does that for a living is able to convince a belligerent ex-marine not to kick his ass. Yeah, wow, what an accomplishment.
Half the time, people won't put their fucking fists where their mouth is anyway, right? They won't.
Yeah.
Like they'll fucking talk a big game and they'll posture and all that kind of shit, but fights, don't fucking happen a large percentage of the time. So he's declaring this as a victory.
Yeah.
Oh, it works, and he's just gonna get punched in the fucking head one day.
Yeah. Well, he still has an AR-15 for when they're gonna come take my land. Send me donations. The state. They're coming. I owe money to them. They're going to get me. They're going to take my land.
They sent me a letter.
What?
Does he seriously have an AR-15? I know he's not supposed to have that, right?
You're just talking about government rules there, Goy. There's no rule that says that a free man on his own property can't own an AR-15.
Yeah, maybe I don't know whether...
He's a sovereign citizen.
It might have been like the Mandela effect, and I was just remembering he had an AR-15 in the video,
okay.
but I thought he did.
But he's certainly been crying, for well over a year now. They sent me a letter. They're gonna come raid my property. I'm like still waiting on that raid, buddy.
Yeah, because he owes like $45 and some obscure.
They sent a letter. It's all polite. It calls him sir, and it says, "Hey, we think you might have forgotten to pay your tax this year." And he's like, "They're coming to get me."
Yeah.
Send money.
Money will fix it.
I'm not going to pay it because taxation is theft, but send me money and it will somehow help me.
Well, it's fine. He's just, when dealing with him, like, it's funny because, like, when I was dealing with him, I looked up, his reputation with other people, right? And saw that, like, he owed that faggot in Keene, New Hampshire, the Derek J. money. So I like was skeptical about like doing anything with him because I knew he was gonna kike me. Like I used like free markets and like technology to decide not to do business and not to interact much with him because of his history.
Oh God, reputation in a free market? What are you talking about? that only works on everyone else.
Do what?
Alex, did you guys talk about so I don't mean to derail. I know you had some prep. I just wanted you guys to talk about the Richard Spencer thing.
Yeah, no, you want to talk about it?
It's up to you guys.
No, bring it up.
Yeah, so he had Richard Spencer. I got the invite. I think Kelp gave me the invite, or Risky. Gave me the invite for the Richard Spencer's alt-right on Discord, and so the way that it was set up was you could put in a question, and then based on the number of votes, the moderator would ask the question to Richard Spencer. I was looking; he only answered like maybe 10 questions. I was lucky enough to post a question that was answered by him. The question that I'd asked him was basically the schism that's being formed between him and Ramsey Paul dealing with religion. Ramsey Paul doesn't believe that religion can be separated from European or identitarian politics. Where I think Spencer thinks otherwise. He basically states that, look, it's not us, it's not our religion, it belongs to the Semites, and we have to move on to something new. So
he's posing that we should adopt a new religion, or just
I don't know. I don't think because if you start talking about neo-paganism, you're going to be opening up a can of worms. I think, and it's kind of cheesy. I think it's a little dead. I think that's like the most difficult challenge that he's going to have in the future. Because I know the type of, I've read the same books that he's read, right? I've read Nietzsche, I listened to Jonathan Bowden. I come from the same school of thought. I know that's where like he doesn't know what to do. He's kind of stuck.
Because secularism has always been the only answer, right? Like We can't. Like what? I mean, what? So what is this debate that you're talking about? Are you saying that Ramsey Paul essentially wants some type of theocracy, and Richard Spencer wants a different type of theocracy? Because I would say I oppose both types of theocracy.
Yeah.
No, it's nothing to do with theocracy. It was okay, so if you look at the Ramsey Paul video, it was like 2 years ago. It really wasn't. It wasn't like recently. It was just something that struck me as interesting because I was following. This is before Ramsey Paul kind of disavowed from the alt-right. He states at the American Renaissance video after he does his thing, Richard Spencer is in the audience and he asks a question to Ramsey Paul. The question to Ramsey Paul was just the kind of same question that I had Spencer. What about Christianity? What's the future for Christianity? The reason why this question is being asked by Richard Spencer is because he comes from the Nietzschean school of thought. Everybody knows that. It's not a secret. And so the whole death of God issue is coming up. I think that this is serious psychologically because it's leading us to nihilism, black pill. I think that's part of our. I think that's part of why our reproduction numbers are down.
I'm not gonna disagree that there's like a lot of like benefits to adopting a Christian lifestyle versus adopting another. But my question to you would be like, don't you think that it's up to each man to exercise his own conscience as far as religion goes?
Yeah, the issue is not like trying to force people into.
Then it's kind of irrelevant to the movement, right? Because if we're not trying to force it on anybody, then everybody can be what they are. What really needs to be talked about as far as the religion thing goes is like, if you're mostly on the same side on these social issues, if you're mostly on the same side on these economic issues, what's the point of? I mean, I get bants, I get people making fun, like I'm a pagan making fun of Christians, you're a Christian making fun of pagans. I get that, like people joking with each other. But I oftentimes see people like seriously, like they're like, this is my line in the sand. Even though we agree on everything else in the world, if you're not going to convert to Christianity tomorrow, then you can't be in my movement. And that just seems counterproductive. Of course, they're entitled to that fucking opinion. I just think it's a stupid fucking opinion.
Well, personally, like I don't think that like there's not going to be something on high that's going to force one religion over another onto white people, and I would oppose that heavily if that was the line. And different people will have different religions and different cultures. You know, I sort of oppose this pan-Europeanism for the same reason that I would oppose a quote white religion, right?
Well, let's entertain what Sam was saying. Sorry, guys. Let me just entertain what Sam had just said. So let's pretend like, yeah, let's just entertain the idea of forcing some type of new religion onto people. I mean, that's how it's always been done, always in the past. You just slaughter your enemies, and the ones who are alive reproduce, and they maintain that culture, right? And that's
so you're going to slaughter white people that don't adopt your religion?
Yeah.
Even while facing white genocide.
Well, I mean, the Soviet purge eliminated a lot of the Jews, and that's.
And this is my problem with pan-Europeanism, because you have this sort of idea of whiteness, which is fine, right? Like we're banding together to defend ourselves, right? But I don't want to give up or force. I don't want to force local people to give up their local or other identities as like. Whether it be their regional identity or religious identity or whatever. I don't want to enforce them, and I certainly think it would be abhorrent to simply slaughter them for being Christian or pagan or atheist or this or that. And for enforcing a religion, like, are you actually going to convert people to this idea?
I'm not interested in. I'm actually not even interested in.
Oh, I know. I shouldn't have said you, but the argument.
Well, you were
the argument. Yeah.
Yeah, you were taking up the hypothetically for it for the moment. We understand that that's not what you're actually saying.
I think even bigger than that is that I think this question has to be answered, and it's like the Catholics are already having problems with the right because of this.
Well,
they had Kevin McDonald come on, right, not too long ago, and talk about the culture of critique. A lot of the Catholics bashed him and saying, like, basically Kevin McDonald was telling us that we have to out-Jew the Jew, and like that would undermine European universality, the universality of what it means to be European. So that is becoming a problem, and I think we're going to start seeing that.
But there is no universality of Europeans. That's the thing, and there isn't in Europe. There certainly isn't in America, as opposed to Europe. There's not in Canada.
No, Australia. Speaking universality and morality. That's what I mean.
I understand that, and I'm saying that doesn't exist.
Oh, I see.
I'm saying we have tendencies as a people, like, but even within the European people, like that's, this is why the left will always say, well, what is white? Because we can actually split that idea of descending from Europe into a million different cultures with a million different ideologies, and we do have some defining traits. I won't deny that, but to say that we could have this universal ideology, universal religion for white people sounds like some Jewy goddamn globalist shit to me, and I will oppose it just as much as I'd oppose Zionism or anything else.
Yeah, and this is my criticism of pan-Europeanism, because I'm a nationalist as a form of decentralization. In the face of globalism, of course I'm a nationalist. Of course I support my nation state. Like, of course I do this, but would I want to eventually allow it to be more of a voluntary association of states that then within that is a voluntary association of counties and cities? Yes, certainly.
Right. Our opposition is to globalism, so we're not going to trade one kind of globalism for another kind of globalism just because my whiteness. That's not what we're in this for. We understand that our people, are important, and we want to advocate for our people. But for most of us, especially us who are coming from America, our people is different than the people in France today and the people in England today. Not only that, my people up here are different than the people down in Appalachia and in the South and out on the West Coast. And do I think that there is a universal ideology and religion that can unify all the people even within this country, let alone across the entire world? Absolutely not.
Culture falls into the category of a cult.
Yeah, culture is organic. Culture comes from the people locally on the ground. Like, that's what culture is. It is an idea, like I wrote an article about this you can check out on firstirregulars.com, talking about collectivism, and like we collectivize naturally. This is where I would get into it with libertarians, is that there's all kinds of forms of collectivism that aren't necessarily like state forced. Being like your family is a form of collectivism, and from your family you live near a bunch of other families, you form kind of like a community because you need to work together to get the different resources, and then from that a common language and trade is going to develop, and then from that a culture is going to develop. That's how a culture is developed. You cannot take the idea of the culture in your head from the top down and force it on this entire group of people and expect those people to work within it. And the proof I have of this would be Rome tried to do just that, and that's exactly why they fell.
It forms from self-interest is the driving factor. If I'm more in common to you, we kind of have a self-interest, and then we're going to band together because it's in our interest to do so.
It was funny because I was watching Red Ice Radio talk about like a federation to protect Europe, and like even in that situation, like the guy from Red Ice Radio was just like, he was even hesitant to say that, basically making sure that it was known that it would only be for those purposes only. Like they, they're still like very balkanized. They don't see themselves as one, which is a shame.
I disagree that it's a shame. Why should they be one?
Yeah, we shouldn't see ourselves as one. We should see ourselves with common interests.
I agree completely. But what I'm saying is, in the situation that they're facing right now, it's in their benefit to become a pack.
Well, yeah, certainly. That's sort of the idea of like confederation, right? Like military confederation, so that you can protect from a larger outgroup. That's fine. Right. But like, if you're talking about, okay, kicked. All right. If you're talking about,
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, if you're talking about a one country, right? What language should everything be written in Europe?
I'm going to go back to Latin. I'll go back to Latin.
Okay, so you're going to go back to Latin, something that the vast majority of people don't speak.
Like no one speaks it.
I'm being facetious. I mean, I don't know.
This is my point, right? Like, if you're talking about actually creating a country that's going to be one cohesive group in Europe, or even it's going to end up just like the United States, but at least in the United States, we for the most part share a language. It's not something I would advocate. Why Why should people in Italy give up their identity and have to make compromises about what goes on in their own country with people from Norway or Sweden or Denmark or Germany or England. It's ridiculous.
That's like
It's
kind of what the
absurd.
EU is, except they kind of get to keep their local culture to an extent, but they still have to succumb to some of the politics of what other people say.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have some sort of military alliance, fantastic. That's great. That's sort of the idea of confederation. But when you know, to even have one tax system, one everything, it's negative, and it's sort of also another opportunity cost you have is competition. You know, competition drives beneficial things to a degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to. I mean, I see for the most part the issue that white people in particular have is this sort of idea, like I said, of this morality of like altruism that we adopt, right? That, well, we have to help people that are worse than us. We have to help people that are worse, worse off than us, even if they never built a damn thing in their life. We have to bring these people in because they have less than us. They never ask, well, what's the cost going to be?
Is this relating back to the pan-European thing, or what was it getting at?
I was getting at I kind of was. We can go back to that. I was just bringing up the main thread I see, which is this altruism that whites have adopted. Because, like the migrant issue in Europe, right? If everyone there didn't have this morality, right, they would have said, okay, what's going to happen when we bring these people in here? What do they look like? What's in it for us? What benefit? Is it actually cost effective to help these people? Because it's not even cost effective to bring them to Europe. It's more cost effective to help them in the Middle East.
Yeah.
But it's this altruism. It's good. It's good that we bring them in at a higher cost.
I don't think.
Hang on. So it's less cost. It's not as cost effective as sending your daughters over to be raped by them. Like, it's better to bring them over here and rape your daughters here.
Yeah, it's more cost effective just to send your daughter to Saudi Arabia to get raped.
Yeah, but I don't even think that's. I think that's like what the veil is. That's what a lot of people say. But the real reason is because like these like left wing politicians, they know when the migrants come, none of these migrants are voting, or very very few to none of them are going to be voting for right wing parties. They're all voting for these left wing parties. So like these politicians, especially in Europe, it's mainly left wing politicians. Like a large majority of them are. They're going to want to keep importing more and more migrants so they can keep getting their votes up and they keep staying in power. It's in their interest to have these. It might not be cost effective, but what do they care? They can just tax productive white people more, or they can just print money or borrow the money or whatever. It doesn't really affect them, but they get to stay in power.
Yeah, when I was saying I was more talking about the people of Europe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The people in the United States, like, because they use this sort of moral posturing. They use this weakness, this exploit that we have in us to fuck us over. That's what they use. They play on our. Don't you want to be moral, Goy? Don't you want to? Wouldn't it feel good to help these people?
Like, yeah, I think like white people are probably the most generous like group of people out there. Like, I think I saw a list of like the most generous countries, and it's like the U.S. like based on donations, and it's like the U.S., like Australia, and a few other European countries. But then they use that with the power of the state in order to gain votes. Say, oh, we had to help all these people, but we're gonna forcibly take other people's money doing it. There's a difference between a private charity versus forcing these people to subsidizing these people to come in your country, and then taking your own money to pay for their social needs or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying. I'm just saying that it's the exploit. It's the main reason. It's the reason why the Shaboskoys work.
What do you mean the Shaboskoy?
You know what Shaboskoy is?
No, sorry.
It's basically the Jews. They don't work on the Sabbath, right? So they hire a goyim to do their work for them.
Oh, okay.
That's how they operate. If whites didn't fall for their memes and stuff, then of course you're not gonna. None of this would have happened, right?
Yeah.
They're a minority. They're not winning through simply voting into office or whatever their interests. They're voting.
Well, you can say George Bush was a Shabbos-goy, right? Like it's basically a cuck for the Jewish interest.
Yeah. But the way they play our people is our sense of morality, is our sense of altruism. They say, well, you have so much, America, your country's great. That's the reason these other countries are poor. It's not fair. You should help them. You should send money. This is how they scam you. And when you're an idiot that believes in this kind of shit, and you're not just helping people because it's what you want to do, you're helping people because what's more, you don't look at cost. You're not looking at actually helping people. You're looking at doing what's right.
I mean, how long would it really take? I mean, I'm surprised that through all this talk about immigration and all these problems, how come we haven't had one single reporter, as somebody from the press, from the press that represents the president or any president, how come Israel gets to have closed borders and the United States or Europe doesn't? I just asked that question. Like, no one, it's never been asked publicly. It's always been done, in private chat rooms and stuff.
But remember the 6 Gorillion goy?
Have you seen my video about doors?
How status they are?
Yeah.
I say tear down the fucking Israel wall. Israel, tear down that wall.
No, we gotta tear down Alex's door first. Come on,
dude. If I was Trump, I'd go to Israel to speak, and I would surprise them all because that's what I would say. I'd say, "Mr. Netanyahu, tear down this wall."
You're being unfair to the migrants.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Israel, keeps sending more and more settlers into these a tradition Palestinian areas.
I've seen a chart that was great. Well, it was more of a map. It just said, so Israel is here, and it's closer to Syria than America or Europe. But why don't we put them there?
Mm-hmm.
No, of course not. That'd be terrible. The only ones that get help there are ISIS fighters that get injured.
Or the Free Syrian Army.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the difference is.
What's
the difference?
What's the difference, right? Besides
Yeah.
the flag. One has one has a little bit of green on it, the other one doesn't.
So, Dio, you've argued in the past that capitalism innately destroys culture. Do you want to speak about that?
I think, I don't have a problem with speaking about it. I think it would be better if I just used somebody else's words who said it better than I could say it.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking about it before the
I think
show.
ISIS has actually come along with me on this issue. He was in opposition, but I think he's finally come along. Let's see.
Asist?
Yeah, well, it's pronounced ISIS, but ISIS is fine. Okay, so see where it's okay. So Francis, this guy named Samuel T. Francis. He died recently, but he was part of the paleoconservative movement that was with Peter Brimelow.
Yes.
But so he makes a complaint about capitalism, saying that he criticizes capitalism, writing that capitalism is an economic system driven only according to its own theory by the accumulation of profit, is at least as much the enemy of tradition as the NWACP or communism. The hostility of capitalism towards tradition is clear enough in its reduction of all social issues to economic ones. Moreover, like communism, capitalism is based on essential egalitarianism that refuses to distinguish between one consumer dollar and another. The reductionism and egalitarianism inherent in capitalism explains this destructive impact on social institutions. On the issue of immigration, capitalism is notorious for demanding cheap labor to undercut the costs of native workers. He also goes on to exert his criticism of modern culture as a result, or pop culture as a result of the degenerate effect of capitalism.
So I mean, essentially, so it's basically arguing that an economic system breaks down everything into economics.
Yeah, I think the overall. I'm not familiar with corporatism until recently, but I think what you would want to have is if ethno-nation state that operates corporations, but the corporations are serving the state, not the other way around.
Well, that's addressed. I don't know if you've read the tenets of national capitalism, but that's one thing I wanted to really address is like in national capitalist society, you have the three entities, right? You have the market, the state, and the individual or the citizen. And for that to function correctly, there's going to be responsibilities on all three parties to the other parties, like, because it is one of those social contracts, right? Like, you living under this system are I know a lot of libertarians agree about the social contract, but if you're going to live under that system, you more than likely, understand that this is what it needs to function. And that's the thing, because international capitalism or corporatism or whatever you want to, cronyism, there's a bunch of different words for it, is not the thing that we advocate. And it is a boogeyman that a lot of the socialists tend to just like point, oh, capitalism, Jewish, and they don't really have much argument. And I've been asking them for arguments for over a year now, and I'm just kind of sick of not being given one.
Yeah, but I'm saying that corporatism, I'm saying that the crony capitalism that exists and multiculturalism is bad because of the globalism. But I'm saying like under an ethno state, it could be good because it could be used as a slave and not the master.
I think even under an ethno state, crony capitalism would be a net negative to 90% of the population.
But what do you mean that? Do you think that you think that a corporation that is set up or subservient to the state is going to be more efficient?
Well, I mean, that's what Hitler allowed private property and capitalism to thrive in Germany, but if it was warned that if it became subservient, if it became it started to become subversive towards what their goals were, then they would destroy it.
Okay.
So it was always understood that it had a submissive role.
So what are you talking about? So are we talking about the economic policies in Germany? Like, is that what you're wanting to adopt? Like, would you set?
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting really close to becoming a NetSoc, full NetSoc.
Are you saying that that's more efficient than what we currently have, like in a money sense, or it's just better culturally?
Yeah, I think both. Yeah.
Okay, so you think that a corporation, if it has to always, like, it doesn't necessarily know because like it has to follow the state's role, whatever, it has to go with the state, but if that can be like super like subjective, right? Like, oh well, you did this and that goes against our policy or whatever. Because the state can always create a new policy or can have new goals. So if this is called it's called like market uncertainty or regime uncertainty, and it's just like when the government always has like these new like regulations or whatever, or they want new rules, whatever. A corporation that makes them not want to do these. That makes them want to do less. So that makes the economy less efficient or whatever. Because they're always scared that they might just get taken down just for one little thing they do, so they want to be.
I don't like, you don't have to be like complete out fascist on them. Just say, look, like the identity is like the culture and identity of the people is like the most important. And like,
yes, but how do you give like an objective?
Do something that counteracts that. Like, for example, if you start hiring immigrants and you start bringing them, like that's not going to work, right?
Well, but his question,
like white immigrants though.
But his question was, what if the regime's goals change? And that is something I'm always cognizant to remind people of, even in the current year with fucking Trump, is if you want Trump to use a certain tactic or a certain give himself a certain power, you have to understand that eventually that might fall into the hands of your enemy. Are you going to give a power to yourself that your enemy will later on have and use against you? And it's the same thing here. What if the regime changes? And how objective standards are you talking about so that these corporations know? Are you talking about a set of regulations in specific objective detail that they can understand that are not going to change without some major political action? Or are you talking about some abstract concept like white identity that can be subjectively defined in numerous ways, and so one day the regime might say, well, now we want to do it this way, and that corporation is now in violation when it wasn't previously?
I'm simply saying you would have, I haven't worked it out. I'm just starting to be persuaded to that side. I think if you just have something that's very basic like a constitution, but very clearly simple but clearly defined, like you can't do this, right? You can't have people coming from an out group coming into your in group fucking your shit up. Like that would be like a basic tenet that would be unambiguous.
That's too
still capitalism. That you could still have capitalism with that framework. That's
Wait, I'm not. But but corporatism. No, I'm not. I'm not like saying that capitalism is bad. I'm saying corporatism that serves for the government, and not the government serves the corporatists, not the other way around.
Well, the idea of national capitalism is that the three entities that you're talking, because there are three different entities, right? The corporations fall under the market, the state falls under the nation, and then the average citizen falls under the citizen. These are three entities that are all affected by the policies that we're talking about, right? And so it's not that one has to just serve the other unfaithfully. Obviously, the nation has to serve the citizens the same way, right? And the citizens have obligations to the nation, and the market has obligations to the citizens. These are
right,
just.
You're talking about checks and balances. I don't know how you would set that up.
I do. I absolutely do, and Asa and I have been working diligently to outline our platform in the coming weeks. Cheap plug for the website, but check out Asa's latest article. It's part 1 of 5 of the case for national.
Fantastic, and there's
Very good. I loved it.
Yeah, there's.
So you guys have got it all figured out. Oh, that's good.
Well, we have it more specifically. We have a platform at least outlined, which is not something I can say for most of the NetSocs that I have talked to.
Does it involve killing niggas? Because like it doesn't.
I've been disappointed with.
Really solved.
I've been disappointed with National Socialists because their arguments basically come down to everyone was born one, man, and like Hitler is the son, bro.
Or your ideology.
Capitalism is Jewish, dude.
National Socialism. I don't know why you have to. I mean, National Socialism is not necessarily the same thing as Hitler. I don't know why that's.
Well, no, but the problem is I have for well over a year now been asking these people to come and share their ideas with me and explain to me their platform, and that's the kind of answers that I've gotten. You, actually, of all people, have been the most cogent of it, and you don't even consider yourself a National Socialist. You've brought more arguments than almost all of them. So
you're great on that.
I give you credit for that. But most of these guys don't. They don't have a platform. They don't have policy proposals. That's another thing is Asa and I are hashing out right now some specific policy proposals that we could get through Congress in the United States right now that would lead towards a national capitalist society. We're talking about actions that we can actually take and that are achievable.
Yeah.
And obviously the first, like one of the ones I know me and him agree on wholeheartedly is the first thing we're going to advocate for is the audit the Fed bill that's been floating around Congress for several years. And I know the libertarians are like, end the Fed, and then some of the NatSocs are like, the Fed is great because free money or whatever. But the point is, once you audit the Fed,
you'll know.
Assuming, and I think we all share in the assumption here, that the emperor of the Fed has no clothes, right? People are going to see that this is essentially a pyramid scheme. And then that opens up the conversation for us to talk about abolishing it and how we replace it. Obviously, I would advocate a return to a silver and gold standard currency, but there's other theories on that. But the point of the matter is we can have the end the Fed crowd that's been going for so many years. The problem that they're missing here is you need to get the audit because you need that information into the hands of the average consumer. And you have to take that information from the audit and put it into a simplistic term that the average normie can understand. Because if you don't, then it goes over the head and they don't fucking care. And that's been the problem with libertarians for so many years is normies don't fucking care because you're not explaining this in a way that they even think it affects them. But when you can show how the Fed's incessant printing of money devalues the dollar in their pocket, and you can specifically point to why this happens in a very simplistic term, then you can bring up the argument, hey, how about we try something different? And then you can also point out that this Federal Reserve is only been around just over 100 years. It's not the be-all, end-all in American history. There's been other systems. So, you want
to go back to slavery, man.
Yeah, clearly.
That's when slavery was a thing.
But we're talking about things that we can get through right now that'll lead us to where another policy proposal that I have, and I've been saying for a long fucking time, is a moratorium on all immigration. All of it. All immigration from white countries, from black countries, from Hispanic countries, from Asian countries for no less than 10 years. No visas, no new immigrants for 10 years. This has been done.
Japan, can she come over in a family? Like, there's all these little exceptions you got to make, of course, right?
I mean, how would
And then people exploit those exceptions.
Yeah, that's why I say no to complete, no exception.
how would you argue on the monetary question as far as that goes? Like against decentralized currency? Is it just that you don't think that that's practical to implement right now, or
I don't think it's practical because, like, okay, so this is the problem with libertarians in the Austrian economic school, is that they don't seem to understand that for the most part, when it comes to international trade and the movement of labor, the system is Austrian in that way, right? The open borders solution is an Austrian idea. This is why many libertarians support it, and it's not working, right? So,
What do you mean it's not working?
is open borders working?
Well, if you subsidize like people's bad behaviors with the welfare state, then no, it's not working. And in that case,
Right.
it's not Austrian. So then you can't say it's Austrian in that sense, because we have massive welfare states that attracts like the worst of people who just want to come to a certain country just to get free benefits. So in that case,
Well-
that's not Austrian because Austrians.
I certainly advocate ending the welfare state too, obviously.
Okay, well you can't say the current system is Austrian then.
It's semi-Austrian. As far as our
It's not
dealing,
Austrian or it's not Austrian though. Like it's not
As
really Austrian at all because we have these massive welfare states. It's like
far
$2 trillion
as-
of welfare. That's not
I'm trying
somewhat
to-
Austrian.
I'm trying to specify what I mean, okay?
Okay, there you go.
So, as far as our interactions with the world outside of the United States, to have the type of trade policies that we have and to have the type of immigration policies that we have are Austrian, right? Because we're allowing the flow of labor in from outside, and we're trading goods.
Can I bring up one thing? So it's having like something like NAFTA or all these other international like trading policies. There are literally thousands, or I think that's like thousands or hundreds of pages. How is that free trade? All when free trade should just be like a one piece of paper saying, do whatever you want, essentially, or within.
It's more free trade than what we had previously.
But how is that Austrian though?
because it's more similar to what the Austrians are arguing?
Okay, so your definition of being Austrian economics is it has to be everything down the line. It can't be similar in any way, but it has to be
It has to be
exact.
somewhat close to.
That
But
is
it's
somewhat close to
Thousand
the
of
Austrian.
pages on regulations. That's close to being Austrian.
The Austrian. Well, okay. So, what would you say about our trade deal with China right now?
I don't really know much about it.
Okay. Well, then how do you know our foreign policy on trade isn't
I'm just saying. I
semi-Austrian?
just brought up the example of like NAFTA and how you have all these other international trade.
And I
there's
actually-
thousands and thousands of pages. Or
I
hundreds of
actually
pages.
oppose NAFTA as well. I'm not saying that I support it.
Okay, and Austrians don't support it either.
Some of them actually have argued for it. This is the problem with the split in libertarianism, right? And there is a schism, no matter how much like the left-wing side or the Libertarian Party don't want to acknowledge this. There is a split among libertarian thinkers right now, and it's the biggest schism the movement's ever seen. And hopefully that's good, at least for our
But
side.
Wouldn't trade deals and decentralized currencies be different? How are they the same? Like those are different policies.
Who are you talking to?
I was talking to Max
Oh, okay.
because I had brought up currency and it kind of got shifted to trade deals.
Well, my point is that we have to look at each of these individual policies and decide what is the better for us. I mean, that's the basic cost benefit analysis, right? So when it comes to trade deals, I think this the open trade on the open one-sided. So China, since I brought that up, China has extreme protectionist policies against us exporting goods to China. This is why companies are moving to China, combined with the cheap labor, but primarily it's because A, that they're getting taxed into oblivion here and regulated into oblivion, and B, they have access to this market of almost 2 billion people now that they don't have access to if they have their company in the United States. But on the other flip side of it, so they have this extreme protectionism that they only take a very small amount of goods from any other country. But our deal with them is that they can have basically unlimited trade into our country. Now, I've been told by a lot of Austrian people that that's great because we get cheap goods. The problem is that these goods are being produced elsewhere, and yeah, maybe that works out in the way when you're looking at just these different economics units, and these economic units in China are just doing better than yours. But I don't give a fuck about the economic units in China. I care about my economic units right here, right? That's my primary goal. So I don't care what's best for them.
Okay, so but isn't it best for us to have cheaper goods though? You want to pay more for things?
Having cheaper goods when the majority of people can't afford them doesn't really matter, does it?
Okay, but like if you have cheaper goods, then more people can't afford these things. But like,
But that's not the system that we're having here. People are living in more poverty than they have
no,
in
people are wealthier
decades.
than they've ever had. What do you mean? We now have like computers, most people have cell phones, even if you're poor now. And then just like 20 or 30 years ago, few people had cell phones. You know, this is an example, is one example I know, but still, we have more wealth than we've ever had.
All right. How many working class people do you talk to that feel that way?
Everybody has a cell phone that's working class.
Okay, but do they feel wealthier than ever, or do they feel like they're struggling day to day?
I don't care how people feel. I care about like what's actually the truth. I don't care how people like feel. I don't care like if your ideas make someone feel bad. I don't care about what people feel. So, what are you trying to get with that? Like, why should we care about what people feel?
Okay. I mean, the problem I have with the Chinese trade deal and the trade deal with these other countries is that if we're talking like pure theory, of course the Austrians are correct that the trade will level it out. The problem is the amount of currency manipulation and central banks manipulating boom and bust cycles in those countries that are propping up their economy.
And the protectionist policies on the other side of the trade deals,
exactly.
Right?
That make it out to actually not be a fair deal, and it might be cheaper to produce things in China because they manipulate their currency. They we don't have an equalization of regulation. We don't.
Alex, check the chat.
For what?
Miss Anti-Feminist said something to you.
Yeah, no. I don't know what the hell. Okay, you guys got me off.
Oh, sorry.
So basically, there's more factors than just the pure theory, right? I agree with the Austrians and their theory of free trade. However, I don't see that being actualized. And the other problem is a lot of times they assume in their models they assume that basically there's no central bank anywhere in the world that can manipulate currency, that there's no protectionist policies anywhere in the world, and that labor can move from one side of the planet to the other. This means not that we shouldn't have free trade. Like where it's profitable, we certainly should. Where it's actually going to amount to be very close to an actual benefit of they can produce widgets cheaper, but we can produce rubber cheaper. So of course we trade, and then we're making fantastic. But where it's manipulated, where there's a big rubber boom caused in the desert because of government policies, and they're going to be protectionist in every other way. No, I don't think that we should have that. Maybe we should have like a government policy that
Well, I'd just like to respond. So the feelings thing, I was just using that because I didn't have statistics right in front of me. But since you don't care about feelings, let's talk about statistics then, shall we?
Okay.
Okay. So the poverty rate in the United States, as of 2015, was 13.5%. 43.1 million Americans live below the poverty line. In 1955, it was 11%, and in 1935, during the Great Depression, it was actually only 12%.
Can you tell me who was our president for the last 8 years? The past 8 years, who was our president?
How is that effective to what I was talking about?
Because you're talking about how I'm saying there's a lot of factors that go in economy, right? So when you have someone who's essentially this very left or somewhat left leaning president, whatever, it's going to obviously have horrible effects on the economy.
Are they
right? But this
you can't attribute all that to trade.
The chart has been steadily on, and I don't attribute it all to trade. I never said that.
Yeah.
I think that a trade solution is going to help, is my point, right? I'm talking about holistic measures, measures in all areas that are going to benefit. But if you look at the chart, which I can't share right now, but
Yeah, I believe you.
What
Don't worry about
it's
that.
been on the decline since 1990, is what the chart says.
how are they comparing though, right? Like because obviously the amount of money one needs to live.
They're going by the U.S. Poverty line, like, which has been defined by the government since 1860.
But
So-
doesn't it change though?
It is adjusted for inflation and growth and everything, but
Okay.
it's been the line, right? So they just move the line
That's
as
fair.
times change, but they are using the same standard that they've had since then. And the other thing I wanted to point out is the homelessness statistics are up significantly in the last 20 years as opposed to previously. So, okay, people aren't feeling poorer, but people, there are plenty of fucking poor people who aren't benefiting from the cheap goods in China, that if you were producing goods here, and I'm not saying we have to get rid of what's coming from China, what I'm saying is if we were producing goods here and had jobs for these people, would they necessarily be in these positions? Now you could say maybe, and I agree with that maybe they would, but maybe they wouldn't.
Yeah, and if you had an actual trade thing that wasn't based on this government manipulation of currency and all this fucking bullshit that the Chinese pull and whatnot, you would kind of
And that we
expect
pull, in
yeah,
fairness.
and that we pull, you would expect that like, okay, we're buying cheaper goods from China, but then we're gonna make more luxury or more high tech goods to sell to everyone, right? But
Right.
you don't really see much of that.
Right, and here's the crazy thing, and I think, and no matter any disagreements we're having right here, I think almost everybody in here will see the ridiculousness of this. Is that what the mainstream Libertarian Party is moving to as one of their main platform planks now?
Hmm.
Does anybody know?
No.
Universal basic income.
Oh my God.
The Libertarian Party is pushing universal basic income.
There was no way
What?
there was no way that I could remain in that party. I
Yeah,
loved it.
Libertarian Party is a bunch of people who go for these titles that mean nothing.
Right, but it's just it's comical to me. So I even I was asking someone I know that's in the Libertarian Party. He's running for Senate or something, and he was advocating this. And I simply asked because automation is gonna end jobs, and I actually didn't even. I didn't disagree with his premise because you don't need to, and I said, well, what are you actually advocating, and what are the economic effects if you're advocating this policy? How is this going to pan out? How much is it going to cost versus what the benefit to the economy is going to be? Like, give me some goddamn something. And
I think the reason why they do, at least I've seen, is because they say they want to simplify the welfare system.
But if you have
That would be
like,
Friedman's argument.
if you have extreme automation though, like what keeps the capitalists from not mowing us down?
It's never occurred in history. You've never had a
Yeah, but
situation
you
when
have
we
AI,
automated
right?
farming. Not everyone was out of a job. They actually went and started working in factories and whatnot.
Yeah,
Like it
most
freed
productive
up
things.
it freed up capital to that would like the specialists, right, will make more money, and then they'll like use that money to like buy other things. And then you will work for those.
I think the mistake that you're making is like you believe in like this linear progressiveness, right?
I
Like,
believe the mistake that you're making, Dio, is your focus. I see. I'm not focused on the automation aspect of this argument at all. What I'm asking is how much does this cost versus how much the welfare state costs now?
Right.
And if you're doing universal basic income, that means everybody gets it, whether they work or not, right? That's the pitch that they're giving. So then who pays for it?
Now, the Chicago school argument, the one that Milton Friedman made for it, was basically, you're fucked, you're going to pay for them anyway. It would be easier if we just have one bureau and send everyone a check, and then that way we don't have to deal with red tape and whatnot, which might be fair, but it still comes down to
Yeah,
fuck them.
that would be that's one kettle of fish, right? Like that Milton Friedman was making that argument, right? And you can kind of see where he's going with that. Simplify it. It's like fucking the flat tax simplifies the whole tax system.
But
that
then,
kind of shit. It's still got a fucking problem that's going to increase the number of people who are sitting around doing nothing, right?
right, absolutely. And this is another thing that I found this last week, is that what they're finding is that so the unemployment rate is actually going down, but what's been a problem since the early years of the Bush administration has been workplace enrollment. This is people who are not technically unemployed, so they don't count towards the unemployment rate, but they're not working. Because once you stop looking for a job or stop collecting the unemployment checks, they don't consider you unemployed anymore. They consider you out of the market. This number continues to go up and up and up, and there was a paper published, and I don't remember where it was published, but it was a study done by a major university that suggested that video games and computing is one of the #1 factors why a lot of young people aren't getting back into the work market after they've been out for a certain period of time.
Oh God.
And and you could see where the case for that could be made, especially if you added in like a UBI program. So not only do they not have to, do they not want to work because they'd rather sit at home and play video games, but now you're adding in an incentive to them that they can just sit at home and play video games. They're going to have a very meager lifestyle on this UBI check. But I mean, people do that on Social Security and welfare now as it is. So are we going to see workforce? Yeah, exactly. They're not even going to have the incentive to get laid.
No.
Yeah, well, see, there's nothing essentially wrong with the argument that one day in the future, like fucking automation, or like there's no reason you should want to work, right? You don't have to work as fucking if robots do everything, right? But how about we get there first and just kick back now, right?
Yeah, but
we not preempt.
According to the capitalists, and like if you, I mean, this is like what you just look at the correction to liberalism versus neoliberalism is that this constant correction to basically make a profit. I mean, eventually when it gets to automation, then, I mean, this is what I'm hearing in some of the Discord channels is, I mean, and this is going to sound...
No, you know what this is?
It's going to sound...
You know what this is?
What's that? It's going to sound
the cart, we got robots pulling the cart.
There's no reason to keep us...
Right? You guys keep pulling. We got a robot helping us now pull the cart, right? So, like, you guys keep pulling and the robot will help you, and I'll get in the cart. That's what this fucking is, right? How about we all keep pulling and the cart gets lighter and lighter until we fucking get to a point where we got enough robots to fucking pull the cart for us, and then we'll all get in the cart. How about that?
Right.
You get these fucking fuckers getting like that's art grants and people like that.
That's what
I want to be an artist. I want to sit on my house all day and do art.
They're gonna mow us down.
Right? I'll get in the cart first.
They're gonna mow us down because they have no interest in keeping us alive.
They're gonna mow us down.
That's what it is.
What incentive is there to mow us down?
And what objective fucking proof do you have of that?
I mean, just think abstract.
When it happened when the farming revolution happened? When the majority of people didn't need to be farmers
anymore? Did that happen during the Industrial Revolution? Did that happen when they introduced agriculture? No.
I think when you look at massive population, right, and they no longer need people working, and they have things.
But like what? Like it's just that you think that. Like that's.
Man, you're jumping the gun.
So they're just going to keep us around, and we're not going to work, and we're just going to live in this utopian society.
Well, I don't think that that's going to happen at all. That's why I don't even argue the automation thing, because my argument is if we're going to deal with the problem of automation to that degree, let's deal with it when we get there, and we're sure as fuck not there now.
Yeah,
we're not even close.
I don't think it'll even ever happen because like I said, every time it seems like jobs are almost infinite, right? Like any job can be like split into 2 and then split into 3, split into 4, and like I said, once you make one sector more efficient, right? Once you free up some labor and capital, that savings and investment, the less people working in that field will have more money, right? They'll be specialists, and then they'll like spend money that they made in that increase in production in other areas, and then people will work providing those needs that weren't as important, right?
I just don't see
how wealth builds.
This is like doomsday prophecy. Like, it's going to happen in my lifetime. The world's going to end in my lifetime, right? But it's like the other way around. The world's going to become perfect in my lifetime, right? It's just about to happen. It's just around the corner. It's like same mentality.
I think it's obvious that eventually, like, we're like a lot of us are going to become irrelevant, and there's no reason for us to exist. I mean,
okay,
yeah, but that's not going to happen
reason
next week.
For you to exist right now.
I mean, like I just don't see
counting chickens before they hatch.
Well, a lot of people who have a lot of control, right? And you have the world population constantly expanding. I just don't see like the people who have control just sitting back and letting the world go,
I
let
can
us
make
become
that
a population.
exact
you don't see.
argument
So
about
yeah.
the agriculture. Like I could make that exact argument about when we automated farming. Well, there's no purpose now. There's no purpose in having this. Look at how big our population is now that we can feed them. Like,
because you
there's
didn't
no
see
purpose to all these people.
that you're going to need people to fucking build your microchips and shit. Like you couldn't see it back then when farming was fucking going to shit, right? Other people in the future you can't even imagine right now.
Well, let's just reframe what I'm saying and say, do you think that we'll get to a point where they're going to want to cut some of the fat off when it comes when we talk about the population?
Because
we just wipe out entire countries, right?
Who wants to do it? I mean, certainly you would. Oh, shit.
To the Democratic Party. The people that are productive can go fuck themselves. But if you're, a transgender paraplegic faggot,
Underdog.
yeah, then the Democratic Party values you more than anybody.
Well, what I'd say about the cutting the fat thing is if you want to prevent that, right, you don't have a UBI, right? Like,
no, I agree. I don't think
you
UBI is a
continue.
good thing.
You continue on with the capitalist system under automation, and the people that can't find a way to fucking have some type of fucking skill or anything, yeah, they are probably gonna die off. But like, I don't think under a capitalist system you actually need to mow them down, as you say. I think you can let the dregs of society kind of starve themselves out.
No, but look at this. So we've already got a system where people are getting shit for free, right? Like with peer-to-peer file sharing, the fucking music industry, the way it fucking went, and it's still operating on a capitalist system. Singers are still getting paid, but like people are getting music for free, basically, right? Just go and watch it on fucking YouTube, the latest song, right? Shit like that is happening, and the whole system isn't collapsing as predicted, right? Because they were worried when audio tapes came out. Oh shit! People are going to fucking get these magnetic audio tapes off the radio. You're going to buy the fucking song, right? And like some people would have fucking actually done that, but it didn't collapse the whole fucking system. So you could live at a very low cost doing shit like that, right? Like taking advantage of that kind of shit, and no one can fucking stop you.
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen when they fucking make robots? My mother needs a robot. She's like an old pensioner and she can't afford a robot, but I'll tell my robot to go over and clean her house. And fucking like, I'll tell my robot to build another robot and then I'll give that robot to her. You're going to have all this kind of shit.
Yeah, the cost of...
You can do that.
The
Don't
cost
you think
of...
it's interesting that the two most advanced races are let's say, ethnic groups, the Japanese and the whites, are like the ones who are reproducing and are predicted to go extinct at first? I always thought that was interesting. It's almost like once you get to a certain level of evolution, you basically become extinct.
Well, actually, if we didn't have immigration, it wouldn't be a fucking problem.
Yeah, but how do you explain Japanese?
It's a very crowded country, and having less people would not necessarily inherently be a bad thing, even.
I blame the bomb, but I have another one, Dio, for you. So you say at some point the elites, will mow us down, right? What prevents the elites from mowing us down now? There's at least in America, there's an answer to that question.
Guns.
You're damn right. And I am not advocating getting rid of anyone's guns. As a matter of fact, I think
I'm not talking about like the next 50 years. I'm talking about hundreds of years, like RoboCop shit.
Earlier you were kind of advocating
arms are arms, right? I just want to point this out. So the right to bear arms is going to apply when it's fucking semi-automatic and automatic rifles now, and when it's laser pistols in 200 years. The right to bear arms is the right to bear fucking arms. It's not about a gun made with gunpowder, right? And that's like the argument that fucking liberals make. So I hope you're not making a liberal argument here. But
was that an echo? No, I'm no. I think like what they're gonna do is when it comes to arms, they're gonna make it so like if you use arms, are going to make it where you go to jail. Like, it becomes so hard for you to protect yourself, where you're not going to want to have arms, right?
Yeah,
Like,
see, that's why we fight right now, not in the theoretical, but in the practical, in the real world, to maintain our Second Amendment rights, because it is the most important thing that an American has. And if we lose that, it's over.
Well, I mean,
And besides, I'll get my robot to shoot you
yeah,
with a laser.
the kind
I'll get
of
my robot to shoot your robot that you sent to kill me, right?
You know, see, what we need is not even robots. We need fucking robots with recreational nukes, obviously.
Yeah.
the government that you kind of advocate for, Dio. I think it would be more genocidal than any incentive a capitalist, quote unquote, would have.
I mean, I think what I'm trying to say overall is if we, when it comes to the technology, I think goes beyond. We need to go into philosophy and ask ourselves: is it wise to go to automation or not? Right? Like that should be the question. Is this wise?
Was it wise to have to go from hunting and gathering to?
Well, this is non sequitur. I don't think that's.
Well,
Was it wise to go from farming to?
It's a little too late anyway. Most automation is already a fucking thing, and it's not going to happen all overnight, right? So what we're seeing with automation, particularly, like, we can see a clear example right now as we speak, and that example is McDonald's and other fast food places working on either automated food making processes for the back end, but especially touch screen ordering services for the front end. This is a thing.
Got them here already.
Yeah, they're having that, and this is just a one little piece that one day gets added to this one company. That's how automation is going to happen. It's going to happen a piece here, a piece there over the course of a long period of time. So there's no point at which you're going to be able to say, well, tomorrow's automation, we need to stop it.
And that's what you have to do. You have to actually say next week.
Another one, right?
Say next week we're going to hit the singularity. Let's all fucking take the day off and like work fucking like 90% less, right? Like if you could see it coming, and you get all these hippies that go, oh, I can see it coming. It's going to happen real soon. Fucking pay me.
I think working's good though. I think it keeps you from being depressed. I think it's mentally healthy.
No, see, the thing is, like, you will never get there, but it's going to asymptotic curve, right? But it's going to be, things are so cheap now, and they're going to get cheaper and cheaper. Like you're going to get, like, your phone does more and costs less, right? That's the magic of capitalism. It's practically going to be fucking free. Everything's practically going to be fucking automated.
Dio,
great. It's great now.
If we get to a point where almost everything is automated in the economy, right? And you need to earn the equivalent of, let's say, $10 a week to survive, right? Because everything's automated. Almost everything is automated. Do you not think you can make that money by painting a picture, making a podcast, or
that's not my argument is. My argument is the how much work promotes, not in all cases, of course, but like how work promotes a healthy living. I mean, we see, for example, many people die right after they retire because of they stop taking care of themselves.
Some people want to work that much, right? Here's the thing: like, we wouldn't be fucking working 8 hours a day, fucking 5 days a week, fucking now, if you weren't getting the tax to shit, and you were let capitalism run and didn't have all these freeloading fucking people. Right? There's all these fucking leftists and their fucking bullshit. Oh, I want to be an artist, so I want to get a grant from the fucking endowment, the government. If you got rid of all that shit, it'd cost you fuck all to live. Right now, you can have it right now, practically.
Yeah, that's my point, right? Like, it becomes easier to survive. A lot of people, right? You're a traditionalist type man. I would say I am too. Would you rather be working 7 days a week, or would you rather be working 3 days a week and helping raise your kids the rest?
I think a 4-hour work day is probably optimum.
Okay, but you achieve that by lowering the cost of living, and the way you
not by deciding from top down that you can have a 4-hour work day because you think that's the best number.
Yeah, that's my point. You make it cheaper to live, and the thing that does that, the thing that's always done that, is automation. The tractor was a huge leap forward over the ox plow. The plow was a huge leap forward and this is the gradual push. This is
Yeah, but I think what you're okay. So I don't understand much about economics. I won't be I'll be the first to admit that. But what I understand about what happened. Okay, so after the Depression, you had classical liberalism, and then you had neoliberalism, which was like a correction. That's where we saw multiculturalism and globalization. It was a way for them to the capitalists to continue making profits. What I'm trying to say is that you have to look at this mechanically. When there's no more profit, right? Like they're not gonna like
there will be
capitalists
profit.
won't exist if they're not making
Why
profit.
no
Right?
profit?
There'll be more
Why
profit.
there will be more profit?
Profit's bad again.
Why neoliberalism was created in the first place? Do you understand? I mean, it's
No, the
You
neoliberalism
are working
occurred
from
when
a
the Great Depression
corporatist
happened.
point of view.
no, but what I'm trying to say here is like the things that you're doing to make things more efficient ultimately is what destroys making profits in the first place, right?
I make that argument.
It almost is this capitalism. And maybe Marx was right on this. Capitalism destroys itself.
No.
No,
Can
capitalism
you
just
give me an
like
example?
it's kind of like, okay, I'll give you an example, right? If fucking competition makes things cheaper, right? So you got to do more with less if you're running a company. So you like, unless you've got a monopoly, you've got to keep on getting better and better to fucking still make a profit, right? So capitalism, yeah, and that's good for everybody. Like eventually we'll be able to do everything with nothing, right? That's the end goal where fucking capitalism like doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like think phones get better and better and they get cheaper and cheaper, and you're making them with less and less materials and shit like that. They're getting thinner and thinner. That. And like it's fucking lefties that want to fucking get in bed with government and protect their profits and shit. I want to.
What I understand about the capitalist, what you're saying is that can't be reached unless you have open borders.
You are leaning too much on the sock part of the net sock. You are leaning too much on the socialist concept of state and distribution of resources.
The
but like you will have communists that will make even like they'll even go as crazier than that. They'll say like you can't reach full communism or you can't reach that state or the ideal state that Iron Man and I are talking about if you have another planet that has people or where there's trade going on. Like it has to be a point where like everything has to be interactive with one another for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're of course not going to have just mass open immigration for the same reason that it would harm other things, right? There would be a nationalistic
You've got to have inequality
interest.
too.
Yeah, there would be an interest, but we're
like,
not.
I might want to work, but say you only have to work 4 hours a week. I want to work the full week and I want to buy a jet plane, right? You want to work fucking 2 hours a week and you will live a more meager lifestyle or whatever, right? You got to have that freedom to be unequal, and because of that, same with fucking countries. You got to have the freedom to be the shittest country in the fucking world with the dumbest fuck, and the fucking shining city on the hill is going to be run fucking capitalist fucking system like to a large fucking degree, right? And you got the barbarians at the fucking gate, and therefore you need gates, you need walls.
But it doesn't negate the idea that profit is bad and that improving things is going to making it.
You're not making other countries shit. Just like I'm not making you work 2 hours a week. You're choosing to and fucking live in a lesser lifestyle or whatever, right? You can't fucking world's problems. So you can't go, well, there's a starving guy over here who is a drug addict. I got to fucking feed him and solve all his problems. And Ayn Rand said every naked savage on earth we got to clothe and feed before you can fucking buy a jet plane. That shit doesn't work either. That's the problem with all this fucking leftist commie bullshit. Bottomless pit problems. You can throw money in for fucking ever and it'll all disappear. They'll be fucking still poor the next day.
All right, we're coming up around the time I'm going to want to wrap it up. Bill, let's see. Show Zach, and he's been hopping out and in. When he does, I can't unmute him for a second. You want to, Dionysus, you have any closing thoughts, man?
Praise Stalin. Capitalism is going to die. No, I'm just joking. I'm good. Thanks.
It's great. Always nice to have you on, man. And as far as like Nat Sox go and stuff, you're great. Like you actually make arguments. You actually are well read. You're not just going Hitler is literally the sun, man. So, all right, Iron Man. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, so I had some closing thoughts from stuff we are talking about before, but it's probably right. So, we get these pendulum swings, like I was talking about with Generation Z and fucking like the hippie generation. You get these pendulum swings basically because especially young people, they're idealistic and all this kind of shit, and they accept imperfection, right? So the founding fathers of the US, I mean, they looked at the whole fucking shebang and they said, and they're not picking a perfect solution where they solve all the problems totally, but they're picking the optimum solution, right? And they go, capitalism and the kind of system they're setting up, with individual rights and all this kind of stuff is a optimum solution. They left enough room to refine it and all that kind of thing. But these progressive idiots come along and they think, oh, we're just going to progress and get better and better. Like we're going to have equal rights for blacks, then we're going to have equal rights for gays and fucking, and it's going to like go march into this utopian fucking future where we just get rid of every single fucking problem, right? And that's just not the fucking way it works. You can move the optimum solution. The optimum solution will move towards, a utopia, but it's not going to fucking get there if you keep fucking it over with all this fucking commie shit. It's like people who build perpetual motion machines, right?
Yes.
If I can just get rid of this friction, they're trying to make it more and more perfect, use a more perfect bearing. If I can just get rid of more and more friction, it'll run forever. Doesn't fucking work. And the founding fathers, they figured out the fucking laws of thermodynamics and said, hey, perpetual motion machines don't work. But, you get an internal combustion engine. Hey, this is a good solution. It's got its problems. It's a net positive. It's not, and you can refine it to make it more efficient and better. But you're never going to have fucking this perpetual motion shit. Forget about it. And that's what the thing with communism. Fucking forget it. It doesn't work. It's reinventing the fucking square wheel every single generation. And you're an idiot if you haven't had capitalism explained to you and shit. But you're an idiot, right?
Yeah, fuck communism. All right, my favorite mate, my best mate, Jaffa.
Hey guys, just been lurking tonight and listening in. Great conversation as always. I just want to say hashtag defund Antifa, check that out. Hashtag defend Europe, check that out. And keep it real, 1433.
Defend the motherland of Europa. All right, Kinji, closing thoughts?
Gas engineers rape dogs now.
Usually he's talking all the time, but this time he's been pretty damn quiet. All right, Miss Anti-Feminist, any closing arguments?
Yes, actually, it's a huge no to socialism because that guy called Lenin, he said, and I quote him, that socialism is the way to communism. So I suggest Dio does some second thoughts on his NetSoc enthusiasm or whatever. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I get the argument if you're an accelerationist that you want a national socialist state, right? But
it can go terribly wrong.
Yeah. All right, Timothy, closing thoughts, man. Timothy, are you there? Okay, Zach.
No.
Closing thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to say check out the Britcast. It's another podcast on this channel that dropped earlier in the week. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah. So now check out our Check out our channel. Subscribe to it. It's The First Irregulars. Subscribe to this channel, First Irregulars live streaming. Check out the Britcast, 14 Things I Hate About Jews. Check out the website, First Irregulars. Asa has a fantastic new article. Those two, Max and Asa, are doing really, really a good job eloquently laying out the argument for national capitalism and really laying it out in a way that I think makes sense.
Yeah, the article.
I almost forgot too. There's also supposed to be another Thistle in the Briar with Max and Blackshirt.
That's
Should be
gonna be
coming out soon. So,
You forgot to buy a
check it out.
fucking headset. That's what you forgot, Zach.
I'm in my car, Dick.
All right, and with that, stay on that 1, 4, 3, 3 shit.